Have you ever felt like you're just running on a hamster wheel? You're busy, you're getting stuff done, but you're not actually getting anywhere that really matters? Well, that is the exact problem Stephen Covey's 7 Habits was made to solve. And here's the thing, it's not about little life hacks or some quick fix. No, it's about a deep, fundamental shift in how you see the world and yourself. It's a true inside-out approach to making a change.
I mean, it's a feeling so many of us can relate to, right? You're constantly on the move, you're checking things off your to-do list, you're putting in all the hours. But when you get to the end of the day, there's just this nagging feeling that you're just spinning your wheels.
And this isn't some new age problem. Covey saw that even people who looked incredibly successful on the outside felt this way. They were crushing it in their careers, but their personal lives were falling apart. They were working so hard to climb that ladder of success, only to get to the top and realize it was leaning against the completely wrong wall. Their wins just felt hollow because they came at the expense of what actually mattered to them.
So what do you do? Well, it's not about working even harder or being more efficient. Covey's whole argument is that the real problem is our approach. We're so often focused on treating the symptoms, not the actual root cause. If we want to get different results, we have to change the very lens we're using to look at success itself.
He actually called this the success trap, and it's built on this big cultural shift, a move away from what he called the character ethic towards something called the personality ethic. Okay, so let's break that down.
Just think about it. For a long, long time, success was all about who you were on the inside. Your character, your integrity, your courage. But somewhere along the line, that shifted to the personality ethic. It became all about what you appeared to be. Your social image, your clever techniques, how you came across. It's basically the difference between being good and just looking good. It's an outside-in approach, and honestly, it's a recipe for feeling empty.
And this is really where the rubber meets the road. I mean, you can fake it for a little while, but sooner or later, your true character is going to show. Like Covey says here, those secondary traits alone have no permanent worth. If you don't have a solid foundation of real character, any success you build is just on shaky ground, and it's probably going to crumble.
Okay, so if the problem is our basic approach, how in the world do we change it? Well, the answer is in shifting our paradigm. It's all about learning to see the world and ourselves in a totally different way.
So what's a paradigm? The best way to think of it is like a pair of glasses. You're seeing the world through them all the time, but you don't even realize you're wearing them. Your paradigm is your mental map of how things work. But, and this is the big catch, the map is not the territory. It's just your interpretation of it. And if your map is wrong, you're going to stay lost, no matter how hard you run.
There is absolutely no better way to get this than through a story Covey told about something that happened to him one Sunday morning on a New York subway. It was a really calm, peaceful scene. That is, until a man and his children got on the train.
Okay, so picture this. You're on a quiet subway car, and these kids get on, and they are just completely out of control, yelling, throwing things, even grabbing people's newspapers. And their dad? He's just sitting there, eyes closed, doing nothing. You can feel the tension in the car just rising and rising. Finally, Covey just can't take it anymore. He leans over to the man and says,
And in that one moment, everything changed. The man kind of looked up, almost like he was seeing the situation for the very first time, and said, "Oh, you're right. I guess I should do something about it. We just came from the hospital where their mother died about an hour ago. I don't know what to think, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either."
Wow, can you just imagine that? In a single instant, Covey's whole world shifted. All of his irritation just vanished, and it was replaced by this wave of compassion. He saw the situation differently, and because he saw it differently, he felt differently, and he behaved differently. That right there is the unbelievable power of a paradigm shift.
So that brings us right to the very first habit, and this one is the foundation for absolutely everything else. It's about making the decision to stop being a passenger in your own life and to finally get into the driver's seat. It's the habit of being proactive.
Here's a really simple way to think about this. We all have a ton of things we care about, right? That's our circle of concern. But inside that big circle, there's a smaller circle of things we can actually do something about. That's our circle of influence. Proactive people, they focus their time and energy on that circle of influence. They take action. Reactive people, on the other hand, get stuck worrying and complaining about things they have no control over. And here's the magic part. The more you focus on what you can control, the bigger your circle of influence actually gets.
Now, being proactive is so much more than just taking initiative. It means really understanding that we are responsible for our own lives.
Covey had this brilliant way of breaking down the word responsibility into responsibility, the ability to choose our response. Our behavior is a product of our own choices, based on our values, not just a product of our conditions based on our feelings.
This is such a game changer. It means that no matter what happens to you, you have the power to choose how you respond. There is a little space between what happens and how you react, and in that space is your freedom. That's where you get to decide who you really want to be.
All right, so you've taken the driver's seat. You're in control. Now what? Where are you going? Well, that's exactly where Habit 2 comes in. Begin with the end in mind. This quote just nails the whole idea of Habit 2. It is so easy to just get busy, to be efficient, climbing that ladder as fast as we possibly can without ever stopping to ask, hey, is this ladder even leaning against the right wall? We can achieve all these things that end up feeling empty because they aren't actually connected to what we truly value. Think about building a house. You don't just show up and start hammering nails, right? Of course not. You start with a blueprint. That's the mental creation. Then comes the physical creation, the actual building. Habit 2 is all about creating that blueprint for your life. It's the leadership part, deciding what you actually want to build before you start building it. So these first two habits, they're really the foundation. They're about taking control of your life and then defining your destination. But they're just the start of the journey, a journey from dependence to true effectiveness, which Covey calls the maturity continuum. So, habits 1 and 2 are what move us from dependence to independence. But to be truly effective, we need to master the other habits too. Habit 3, put first things first, is all about management, acting on your priorities. And then you can move to what he calls the public victory. That's where you get habit 4, think win-win, and habit 5, seek first to understand then to be understood, which is a total revolution in communication. Then there's habit 6, synergize, where we create something together that's bigger than what we could do alone. All of these take us to interdependence.
And this all comes back to the core of that inside-out approach. Habits 1, 2, and 3 are what he calls the private victory. It's about mastering yourself. You see, you just can't achieve those public victories with other people, like thinking win-win or creating synergy, if you haven't won those battles within yourself first. And finally, habit 7, sharpen the saw, is what keeps it all going, the habit of renewal. You have to master yourself before you can ever effectively lead with others. So it really all begins with that choice to work on yourself, from your character outward. Looking at this whole framework, the only question that's really left is, what's the first step you're going to take inside your circle of influence?